All right. So today, we're going to work on this page. We want to use this Freepik sign up page to put everything that we've learned so far together. Because a lot of the CSS property we're going to use on this page has been taught already. So we need to put everything together and use it for this page. And from there, we keep progressing to another design, and any other property that we've not talked about, then those one can now come in later on. And here we're only going to focus on the desktop design. So we're not going to be working on responsive design. And if you look at this side now, when it is on mobile, as you can see that the way it looks, it's quite different from the way it is on the desktop. So we're not going to do it like this for now. We're really going to focus on the desktop one. But later on, we need to introduce responsive design, which is one you can use to change the way your elements are positioned or layout on the page. So, as you know, when you want to work on any website or any project, the first you need to have is your project folder. But since we are still learning, so I'm putting everything under the same class 5 here. So, and under the project, which is a subfolder there, I have this another subfolder which I'm calling this Freepik Signup page, because we want to work on this side, and the name of the site is Freepik, and this is their sign up page. So that's why I'm calling the project Freepik sign up page, so that it will be easier to locate later on in case we need to go back there. And as you can see, inside the project folder, we have these two files, the index and the style, because we're only focusing on the sign up page, not the entire site. So we only have one HTML and one CSS file, which is going to be responsible for styling the page. As you know, the first thing we're always going to do is to generate our structure, because that's the first thing you always do. You need to generate the HTML for all the content that you can see here on the page. And after that, you start applying CSS. But before you start doing all those things, you need to know how to lay out your HTML code, because it's very important. When you want to use flex or any layout property later on, you need to lay out your element correctly from the HTML. And if you look at this page here now, looking at it, so the layout is going to be something like this, where we have the body. So the entire stuff here is the body. But inside the body, we have two groups there, or we have two sections. The first section is this particular one here, which is where we have the image. And inside it, as you can see, we have background. And apart from background, we have this text down here. So again, on the right side, we have this group, which is this white area here. And inside this white area, as you can see, it has its own other item. But the one we're going to focus on is the logo. So we are going to work on this, and at the same time, we're going to work on all this one here. So this is where we'll stop like this. So the only thing we need here are these items in this place. So I will not bother to do all this one, because we don't want to take time. The same experience you have here is what you are going to apply here. The difference is just the content that is there like that. And when you want to lay out all this content here, because this is not the way we are just going to put them together. So if we want to lay them out, we already have this white area, which is going to be a section. So inside that section, we are going to have the header part, or you can just have the logo directly here like that. Then after that, we are going to have this other text here, and at the same time, we are going to have the form. And inside the form, as you can see, we have the label, we have the input, another label, another input of type password. This one is of type email. Then you have the button, and now after it, we have the paragraph text. But if you look at it inside the paragraph text, you see that the styling of this one is quite different from this. This text is not bold, while this down one here is bold. And again, I think, yeah, can you see? It's telling that it's a link. So as you can see, that when you are there, it's something, it can take you to a page. But the and in between is just normal text. So which means here we need to wrap this in a tag. This is a tag. Continue. This is another a tag, but everything is inside this paragraph are there. So then we can now target the A and talk to it that we want it to have a bold text, which is, even this thing is not making sense like this, because this is the way it's supposed to be. Anything that is linked is supposed to be different. The color is supposed to be different from here, because it's not kind of easy. This is what we call user experience here now. The experience there is not that good, because someone can just be looking at it from far. They will not really know that it is linked that is there. But you looking at this, you already know that this thing is something like it's different from what is here. So, and again, any links on their side, as you can see, is always this blue color. But why are they not using it here? It all depends on their design. But we are going to follow what they have there, like that. So the first thing we need to do, we generate our page content, which is something we know already. Then inside the body, don't forget I said we're going to have two sections: the section for the left side and the section for the right hand side. So this is the left and this is the right there. So we need to have two sections in our code there. So we are going to have two sections. So inside the body, we have the section, and I'm going to give it a class so that we can differentiate left from right. Or you can use other selector like first of type, second of type, last of type, and so forth. But it's always good to use class so that it will be easier to work with. So we have the left like this. Again, I'm going to have another section. This one now is not going to be left, it's going to be right. So this section is the one that is going to hold everything on the left, while the second one is one that is going to hold everything by the right hand side. And what do we have under this side, under the left? Nothing much here. It's just the text that we have down here. So this, it even is not text, it looks like it's a link. So it's a link. So what we're going to use is a tag, and I'm going to put the same text that they use here. So which is going to be this image generated with Freepik Picasso, like this. So that's what is there. It's a link and it's going to take us to somewhere, but we don't really care about the actual link. So we're just using the tag there like that. So under the right, that's where we have a lot of things to work with. So under the right, that's where we have a lot of things. And you might be thinking, why am I not putting the image? It's going to be background. So it's something we're going to apply from CSS directly there. So inside the right, as you can see at the top, we have the logo. And again too, if you look at the logo, you see that is a link. So the logo is a link. So what we need to have here is a tag again, because anytime you are dealing with a link, is always a tag. But inside it, you can see that this thing is not normal text, is image. So we need to use our image. But where is the image coming from? We don't have it. So we can download it or just point to the online link, depending on which one you want to use. You can just right click on it like this, and you inspect the image, and it's not giving me that. So let me inspect the code and see what they are using there. So that means they are not using image, but we can actually screen grab whatever that is there. Yeah, they actually, let me open it. Yes, they're actually using image. So as you can see, this is the image, this is the link of where it's coming from, like that. So we can just open it in another tab so that we can have it and save. So let me save the image, which is going to be this free, let me call it Freepik logo. So Freepik logo like this. So it will be under download. Which other assets do we need from their side? The other one we need is this background. So let me inspect that one too and see the image they are using for that place. So this is the wrapper. So let me see, where is it? Okay, let me expand it. Yeah, this is it. They are even using image and they are not using background, but we are going to use background for it. Yeah, so as you can see, this is the image. So let me save that one too, so that we can have the assets. We don't need to be connecting to their site to have access to it. So I'm going to call this one Freepik BG like this. So underscore BG. So we have the two assets that we need for the project. So let me close the side bar or close that dev tools. We don't really need it again. Let me close this one too. So we already have all the assets. We just need to add them in our project folder. So let me go to the download folder and copy everything. So cut out, go back into the project that we're working on. So training, students. So this is where I have everything: mailverse, class 5, project, like this, and under this one I will just paste everything. So in our VS Code now, we should have access to the code. So let me go back into my VS Code. Yeah, so now open this code. As you can see, we have access to the two items. So now what we just need to do is to link it to this our logo, like this. Then apart from logo, as you can see, we have this text. So after that, we are going to have this H. So I'm going to use H1 for it, which is going to be this create an account. So that's the text, but the A is supposed to be small letter like this. So save. So after this one, what do we have next? We have the form. So the next thing we have there is the form. So the next thing we have to work on is this entire box. And you know, anytime you're working on something like this, you should always put them in a form. And inside the form, you are going to put all the controls that you want there like that. So what I will do here, and as you see that I'm not including this text. Why am I not including that text? Is because you look at the space here. It looks like the space we have at the top here. So from the apparent, we are going to use flex to gap them easily here like that. So after this H1, so after the H1, we're going to add the form. And inside the form, I don't care about the action. We're not submitting the form. We just want to do the design. So inside our form, let me disable this AI. So inside our form, we are going to have this group. As you can see, there's a group here. So in order for these two to be placed on top of each other like this, separately from the other item, we need to create a group. And as you can see, the way this first one is looking like, that's the same way the second one is. So we can create a group by using class, and whatever class we are giving to this one is still the same thing we are going to give to this, so that we can start the class once and it's going to apply the style to the two of them immediately. So what we can do here is to create a group, and here I'm going to be calling it form group like this. And inside this form group, we are going to have the label. So we are going to have the label. The label is for the email. The text there too is email, as you can see on the screen. Then after the label, we have the input. Well, what's our input? It is email, because we want to receive email, so we should use type of email. The ID is going to match the label for. So it's going to be email. Whatever you use for should match the ID of the input. And again, if you want, you can give it name, but we are not submitting the form. So this one is useless for us right now. And as you can see, inside the box, there is no placeholder. For me, I want to add placeholder because it's always good to use placeholder, but it's not a must. So enter your email address. So this is what we want to use as our placeholder. So save, and as you can see here, we have the group. Inside this group, we have label and we have the input. The same thing that we have here for the first one is still the same thing for the second one. The difference there is just the text and the type of the input that you want to use for that one. So here, I'm going to duplicate it because it's the same thing, and we modify the info. So here now it's not going to be email, it's going to be password. So this one is going to be password, because that's the text that is showing on the screen at the top there. Then the type is not going to be this. The type is going to be password, not pass. So it's going to be password, so that whatever the user is typing is not visible to people there like that. So save, and let us run this thing on the browser. So click on go live, and we should have this thing on our page. So we have the logo, we have the text, we have the email, and we have the password. So the type, we're not going to see anything, but if you type inside this place, it will give you suggestion, because you are using type of email. And since this thing, I've seen that I've used some email before on my browser, it will suggest them out, and that's why we are using all those correct uh attributes. So it's not a must that you use the email here. You can just use text, but it's bad for email because you want this thing to handle some stuff for you out of the box, not that you want to be the one that will be doing it yourself. So the next thing we need to have, this thing is not looking like what we want, but once we enter the CSS part, everything will start coming in So we need the button. So inside the button, what do we have there as the text? So the button, what do we have inside it? So let me go back to the page and open it. As you can see, the text there is sign up. So inside our button too, we're going to use sign then up like this. And after the form, we have the last one, which is this text. So I will copy the text because I can't be typing this in. So I will just copy the text and paste it. But don't forget the terms of use and this privacy policy, they are linked. So we need to change all those one to link. But first, paste everything. Then these terms of use, so we need to convert it to a link. So so inside the A, we paste the text. Then for the privacy too, this one too is going to be a link. But we don't have the link, so I will just leave that href empty. But if you want to actually add the link, you can have it too. Just go there, right click on it, as you can see, copy link. So you can actually get the link if you need it, but I don't need them, so we're only dealing with design. So paste, as you can see, we are going to have the link like that, but I don't care about the link. We are only focusing on the design there. So technically we are done with the HTML part. So we are done with the HTML part, but looking at our page, looking at the page, you'll see that this thing is not displaying correctly. Like this is not what we want. Again, towards my button means the code is not saved. So save again, go back to the page, and we should have our button, which is sign up. Again, too, we need to have something else for the title. So going back to that page, look at what they use for their title, which something I don't really like that because it's just speaking the address. So we are going to use free pick like this, then sign up like that. So this piece supposed to be small letter. So save. Going back to the page, now we should have the title as Freepik sign up. The way you see other side, as you can see, introduction to React, the UX boot lab. So all these things, they are the title. So we too, we are putting our own title there like that. So I'm going to move these two together so that to be easier to switch from the two like that. So what do we need to do now? We need to set up our CSS. We are done with the HTML part. But anytime you are working, your HTML have to be arranged correctly in a way that will make your CSS to work the way you're expecting it to be there. So let me move this into one side like this. So what do we need to do? The first thing we need to do is to link our CSS, which is something that has been created already. So opening the folder again, I have my style.css created. So I'm linking to it. So save. And in order for us to see that our code is working, so what do we need to do? Let's go into CSS and just pick one element there. For example, our H1, the color should just be red, and save. Then you see that this thing is changing to red. But this is not how you do with your CSS. So when you are working on a design, there are steps you are always going to follow, just like the way we have HTML, that you generate the structure, then inside the body you start generating the content. So with CSS too, there are steps that will follow when you are working with a design. For example, here now, let me show you something so that you see that there is something that browser is doing that we don't want. So we need to do some reset for it. So let me use background image for the body, and let me point it to that our Freepik BG like this, like that. So if you look at this stuff here, it's not displaying the way I want it to be because yes. So let me even apply it on the element. Look at what is going on here. As you can see, that there's some free space around the edge of this stuff. Let me put it in the correct box. So let me put it in the correct box so that you can see what is going on, not on the body. So I have this left, so I'm selecting that section to apply the stuff. So let me give it height, or I don't even need to give it height. You can see what is going on already. 500 pixels like this. Can you see what is going on? Can you see that some extra white space around the edge? So this is what the browser used to do by default. It's applying margin in in the body. So it's apply margin on the body, and that body now, we don't want the stuff to have all these extra white space, because if you look at the original design, you see that there is nothing like white space around here. So there is some silly setting that every browser used to do that we don't want. They are kind of old, like they don't want all those old sites. Like this thing will have been removed, but they don't just want to remove the stuff. They want all those old sites that are using this thing to still work. So it's not left for you, new design, to change all those things that you don't want in your system. And when you are working on a design, the first thing we normally do in our CSS is known as reset. So we have something called CSS reset. So this is what you can use to reset some silly stuff that the browser is doing by default. So we have a long list of CSS resets that you can use there, but we are not going to be dealing with advanced stuff. We are starting with the basic thing. So this the CSS that you need the reset, but there is a lot of CSS resets online that you can look into, or when you're using framework later on, they will have already done all this thing for you. If you are using a framework, all this research will have been done by the framework for you. But since we are the one doing it by ourselves, then we need to do the reset. But we are not going to do with the big reset. We are just going to do with minimal reset so that we can remove all those things that the browser is doing for us. So these are some of the articles that talked about CSS reset like that remove some silly stuff that the browser is doing behind the scene by default. So we too, we want to remove some of this thing by using what we call CSS reset. And once the CSS reset, to reset your element, we can use this our universal selector. It's selecting everything on the page. And what do we want to do? So everything on the page, we are returning all the padding to 0. Anyway within the padding will be the one that we apply. By default, if you look at all these elements, can you see the button? You see that there's some padding around it. So the browser is actually applying padding or margin to your. Look at the space between this H1 to this one. There's a margin there. So all those things, we don't want the browser to do it for us. Anywhere we need it, we are going to be the one that will apply by ourselves. Not that the browser will be using its own settings. So now I'm turning off the margin and I'm turning off the padding. So I'm M0 is just saying it's just a shortcut in VS Code to type this long stuff. So once I save this in now, you see that, can you see all the spacing, they are now gone. Again too, can you see that edge, that spacing is no more there? So because we've removed it, because we are selecting everything on the page. Everything on the page, go there, remove the padding and remove the margin that is there. So anywhere we need it, we need the one that will use our hand to type result. So another reset that you always do is on at this box sizing. This is how the browser calculate the space that you have for the content inside the box. Everything on the page is a box. So when you apply padding and at the same time you give a width, so when you say width should be 300 and you apply padding, what the browser will do by default is that if the width is 300 and you apply padding on left and right 10, that's 20 pixels. The final width is going to be 320. But you said the width should be 300. But by the time you check the browser, what you are seeing there is 320. Why? Because it's taking the account of padding that you apply on the left and the right. So what he did here is give that 300 width to the content. So padding too is now creating its own space. By the time you now get to the page, it calculates, like it add everything together, it now turn to 320. But that's not what you want. Whatever width you apply to your element, even though you are applying padding or whatever stuff, it should recalculate the new value for the content. The final value must not pass whatever you specify as a width. So anytime there is a width, it will be taking the account of padding that you have there. And that's why we have this box sizing of border box. What is there by default is content box. So which means it only focuses on content, not the box around it. But we want it to take care of the box too. They're not just the content that we are typing in the box, but take care of the box too. So if I say the box should be this, don't be adding extra stuff based on what the box is doing. Remove whatever the box is doing from the content space that is there. So the first thing you usually do are this basic reset here. You turn the padding to 0, margin to 0, and you set this box sizing to border box. So that when you apply your padding and margin and border later on, this thing is going to work the way it's supposed to be. Not that all those ones will be doing their own separately. So if you want to do it, you can actually be using that content box, but you have to be doing some math in your head, because you have to, since you want your box to be 300, final should be 300. So anytime you're not applying padding, you have to calculate it in your head that whatever you want to apply, you have to reduce the weight so that by the time the thing is adding them together later on, it will not complete. But instead of you doing that, we can give the work to the browser to do. So that's where this border box comes in. When you use this one, anywhere you apply weight and border, it will make sure that the final weight that you specify is what is always going to use. And the remaining space, what you now do is that to subtract whatever you use for padding in the total weight, and that's what it will now give to the content. So that by the time you add them together later on, it will never pass whatever you mentioned. And this is what we call CSS reset. So what I have at the top there is what we call minimal. So this is known as a minimal CSS reset. But I normally add this one to it too because I don't like the font that the browser too is using by default. As you can see, the font is using this Times New Roman, but I don't really like it. So if you look at the design of the site that we want to work on, you see that on their site, can you see what they are using? So where is it? You see now that the C here, the R here is quite different from what we have there. So you can actually inspect the code too and see the font they are using. But we know the family where this font is coming from, which is the sans serif. I mentioned that any font that doesn't have pencil mark, they are coming from the this sans serif this thing. So yeah, we can just go back there and use our font family too. So which means everything on the page that deal with text change their family to whatever we want to mention here. But I normally use this system UI, which is going to put bunch of, as you can see, bunch of sans serif based on the system you are working on. So like that. So save this code and going back to the page, you see that the text now has changed, which look like what we have there. Technically, it's not the same, but it looks like it because they are coming from the same family there. But if you actually want to use the original font, you can actually inspect it and the browser will tell you whatever font that site is using. So if you go there, it will tell you the family where the text is coming from. So if you scroll down to where the font family is mentioned, can you see what they are using is Inter? But look at the family, it's sans serif. So that's why it looks alike, but they are not the same thing because this one is actually using Inter. But the one we are using is just part of the family. So they will look alike, but they are not the same like that. So because any font that looks like this is sans serif. Any font that looks like this is sans serif. So what we need to do now is to continue with the other layouts that we have there. So after we are done with this normal reset, the next thing we need to do is to select our body. But why do we need to select body? I'm arranging it based on the way we arrange our content on the page. So after reset, the next thing we style is the body. So when I'm done with the body, the next thing I will style, if I need to do that, is this section for the left. So when I'm done with everything inside the left, then I will jump into the right, then I will enter it onto. So that's how you are going to do your styling. Not that you style this one, you now jump down to this one. You do it like that, it will work. But when you need to modify it or when you need to do some changes, it means you have to start moving from one place to another. But if you arrange them according to the way you arrange your page, you know where to go to directly to see your styling. But you can actually arrange it anyhow you want. You can arrange it in anyhow you want. You can start with the body, then move to section, or you start with section, later on you now do the body separate. But it's always good that you start the way you arrange your content on the page, that's the same way you should style the stuff. It's not a must, but when you're working, that's the way you should follow there like that. So the body now is what we need to style. So what do we need for the body? What you're always going to do is that we want the body to always be 100% of the weight that is there like that. But look at the body. Look at the body. Let me give you this background image URL like this, and or let me just use this gradient, so linear gradient, so that you can see what is going on. Red, blue, like this. Can you see what the stuff is doing? So it's repeating itself. So if you don't want it to repeat, what we can just do is to use background repeat like this, no repeat. Can you see where it stopped? By default, when you're using image or anything, the body is not actually here. The body actually stop at that place. But most of the time, you want the body to always cover up the screen that is available. So how can we do that? We can use, we talked about the height, we talked about the width. So we have used the width there. So the same thing too. The width can actually expand, the height can actually expand. So what we need is minimum height. So even if the content is not up to this, so we want it to have 100 VH. You know that 100 VH is just from here to here, which is 100% of the height of the screen. So save now, as you can see, even though the content is not there yet, it will make sure that the minimum height of the body is up to this height. So this is another setting that you should always do. Not that height to, if you know that the thing will never go more than that place, you can just use height. But most of the time, you don't want to limit body should be able to scroll down. So what you do is minimum. But if you want it to maintain only the height of the stuff, you can just use height like this. But I always use main in this way. So what else do we need to do? You know, the next thing we need to do now is to put the content on the left, by the left, and the one on the right. So what do we need to do? We talked about flex last time. So what we can do here is to display flex. And you know, anytime you display flex, as you can see, it will place them side by side. But we know that we want this one to take more space than this. And the reason why this one is more than this one because the content here is more. But still, we want this one to be more than this, no matter the content that is inside it. So now we can select the two of them. You know that we have section with the class left. So what do we want to do? We want this one to have flex of 3. While the section with the class right, we want that one to have flex of 1. So now save and go back to the page. You see that this one will always be 3 times whatever this one have. But right now it's still not, because you know the thing can shrink and it can expand. And you know this one did not have much content. So once I reduce this logo, everything is going to come out, because by default again to all image they used to get wider anyhow than the appearance. So another way of solving this one is by doing reset for the image too. So what the browser is doing there on the image is not what we want. So we can do reset for our image. So anything reset should always be at the top. So anything reset. So the image I want to do reset for now, the reset we normally do on the image is known as max width 100%. What this one is saying is that this image, I know you can expand, but wherever I place you, don't grow more than that, because by default it will use its original size. The original size of the image is that the image that we download here, this is the original size. But you know, we put it inside the A tag or anywhere it is. We don't want you to grow more than wherever we place you. Because if you just go to the A that actually holds this thing, if you style it, you see that the image will still be going outside. But you don't want the image to go outside of that A tag where we put it. So we can use this max width of 100%. Can you now see now that it's working? The reason why it was expanding before is because that image, it's big, so it will have to take its size like that. But now we said this thing should not grow more than is this not too much? This 3 is too much. Let me try to like this. So yeah, like that. So what do we need to do again now? We need to work on this side. But you know, this background that I'm using right now is not supposed to be there. So let me just remove it so that we know that we are working with the actual design background. So the next thing we need to do on the left, we now need to apply background there. So background image, which is going to be URL. So where is it coming from? It's coming from this Freepik like this. So save, as you can see now, we have the image. But that's a problem. The image is not positioned the way it's supposed to be. We've talked about the property we can use for that. So apart from this, what we can do is, first of all, we don't want this image to repeat. Always do that. Because if it goes more than a screen that is bigger than this image, it will be. So background repeat first should be no repeat at all like this. So that's it. But because the image is really large, so you will not even see that in action, but always add it there. Again, another thing is background position. Where do you want to position this your or let's say background size first. So background size. What is the size? You know, we can say contain, which means it's going to contain it, but there's a problem. It will not cover up the stuff again too like that. What we can do instead of contain is cover. You know, that one cover now, it will make sure that it cover the entire box, not just the area where the thing. So now once I save, as you can see, it has covered up. And again, it's already at the top. So I don't need to be saying it should be at the top. Or if you want the down one to always show, what you can just do here is to use background position. Then it's going to be bottom. So which means you are sticking to the bottom. It's the bottom that you need more than the top. But by default, what is there is just this top like this. So it's going to be top, or this is what is there, left top. So no, the first one is X, The second one is Y. On the Y axis, it's staying at the top. On the X axis, it's staying by the left side. So it will not cut the left and the top side. It will cut from here out like that. And you know that we use the original image. That's why you see that it fits, because they actually designed that image to fit what they want. But assuming you are using another image, you might need to change all these properties so that it will look nice based on what you want to do like that. And as you can see, it looks like we have the same thing like that. So this is their own. So this is their own, and this is our own like that, with a little bit of changes. As you can see, their own, it looks like what they are doing is bottom. I think they use bottom for their own, not the, can you see that it's cut out the top, but our own, it's cutting down to the bottom. So let's change it to that. I think they are using bottom, so it should be, so instead of it to be top now, this one is going to be bottom, and this one can be center. So it will center the image, and save it now. And now, as you can see, oh, you see that it's cutting more than what it's supposed to be. So when the thing is not doing it the way you don't want, then you can now specify your own value. This is the predefined CSS value. You can think of this bottom as like 100% or so. But instead of it to be 100%, maybe we can just use 90% or something. So you can apply your own definite value to, based on whatever you want like that, and you keep, as you can see, to keep changing. So CSS have its own predefined value, but if it doesn't work, you can apply your own definite value based on what you want to do like that. So yeah, I think this one is okay like that. So CSS have all this thing that you can use. Your own is just to look at the site, and that's why it's easy to clone a site. Just look at it and you apply the CSS to it. That might be a subtle difference, but you still get close to it like that. So now we are done with it. No, we are not done. This one's supposed to come down to this side. Supposed to be here. So why is it not there? Is because, you know, it's inside this parent, which is this one. But the next thing we need to do, where are you, is to display it as flex and use some flex property to move it down. You know, when you display it as flex first, or before we display it as flex, so let's section. So section dot left. So inside the left, you know, we have the A tag. For example, the color there should be white, because this is the color that's supposed to be there. Again, too, is it having line? Where are you? Is it having line? No, no line. And as you can see that it is bold. And again, too, it has some shadow at the back of it. It has some shadow at the back of it so that it can display correctly. So I've not talked about that shadow before, but I will going to bring it out. It's known as effects. So what do we need to do? Text decoration, because we don't need any line under the text. So text decoration, text decoration, text decoration. So it's going to be none. That's what is going to remove the line. So the next thing is that we need to have a padding inside this parent itself. You can see that it's jam packed to the edge of the box. So let's apply padding there first. So this one should have a padding of 1 rem so that we can have enough space. But it's supposed to be down here. So what we need to do is to display this one as flex. Once we display it as flex, it's still not down. But you know that since we display it as flex now, we have justify content and align item that we talked about. You know, when, you know, by default, when you display as flex, it is horizontal. So since it's horizontal, it means we have access to align here, and this is justify. So where what we can use there is align item like this flex end, which means take whatever that is there to the end. Don't forget the align is here now, since the direction is row. But assuming the direction is column, you know, you have to use justify. So you justify use. And again too, if you want it to be here too, you can actually move it to that side too. What we just need to do too is to use justify content flex end like this and save. You see that it will not be, first we moved it down by align, then we move it here by justify. But you need to take note of the direction. But this is not where it is, so I will return it back. We don't need this one, because you only do what you only call the property based on what you need, not that you just call them anyhow. But if you look at their own, it looks like there is a black stuff. Even this one sef, you see that their own is really darker than our own, like that. So there's something that is on top of this thing covering it, but we've not really talked about our property. I will talk about it in the next one. That's positioning. You can actually use something to cover up this place here. Oh, we've talked about it. Yeah, we've talked about it. Let's use it. We've talked about it. So yeah, we can use background color too. I just remember now. We've talked about it. So background color is going to be RGB. So I want to use black, but it's going to be around that 0.5. But it will not come outside. Why? I told you that image is always at the front. So what we can do is to mix them together. So how do we mix them together? We can use this property of background blend mode that I talked about. No, I told you that it's multiply that works best. So we can try multiply like that. So does it apply anything? This black is not working. Let me use, let me try another color. Let me see this one. Let me see. I'm not seeing any effect. What's going on? Eh? Tell you what is going on. So let me go back to my because multiply is always the best. And this one here, let me go back to the black and let me reduce this stuff. As you can see now, that it's applied like a filter on top of it. So that's what they are doing there. So the actual image, so without these two lines, the actual image is really light. But because we don't want the thing to take attention too much, we add this. First of all, we add the color because we want to mix them. If you don't add the blend, it will not work because the color is at the back, the image at the front. But we want to mix them or we want to blend them together, like Photoshop. So we are using this stuff. So again, too, you can tweak this your alpha channel depending on how you want that black to cover it. So if I want to reduce that black, I just need to increase the store, decrease the stuff to maybe around that 3 because you are removing it more like that. But I think that 5 is okay, which is semi-transparent, which is going to give us. So now as you can see, this text is coming out more because that back now is not having white again like that. The white is still there, but it's not that much. So we can see the text coming out. And I think this one is okay for now. So let's dive into this right section. So let's enter this right section here. So the same thing here too. On the right, on the right. So we are going to display it as flex, but you know that this one will not work because it will be placing them side by side, but they're supposed to be on top of each other. So what we can do here is to change the direction. So flex direction, and we can change it to column. So it will go back to the way it is. But before we start going on with the other flex property, what I want to do here is to apply padding because see that there is no in like it's too jam packed to the edge of the box. So I'm going to use this 3 rem, which is 48 pixels, rem like this. So save. We're going to have enough space, but I want to have more space at the top and bottom. So padding top and the bottom should be 4 rem, but left and right should be 3 rem like that. As you can see, we have more on the top, but we can't see the bottom because it's just white. Everything has so, and the content is not there yet. So what do we need to do so that they are not jam packed together? What we need to do is to gap them. For example, let me apply more gap. As you can see that the logo, this text, this one, and this one. That's why I separate them. They are not inside form. So that by the time it's so to see this, can you see that I did not gap all this one because you see them as part of the form, not that they are standing under this section. They are not directly under the section. So when you're using flex, it only affects what is inside it directly, not the nested children. So if you want to do something here too, you have to go to the form and talk to it. And this will make it possible to tweak things that you put inside each other anyhow you want. Not that the parent will be affecting the deep nested element. So it will really cause a lot of problem. So that's why it's not doing anything for you there. But this 3 is too much. It's just for you to see what is going on. So 1.5 should be okay, or let's say 1.75, like this should be okay. Yeah. So now the next thing we need to talk about is this logo, because if you look at their own logo, it's not that big, but our own is really big. So we need to control it. So how do we control it? Don't forget that we put it in a tag. So that a tag is just what we control. And don't forget, we don't need to talk about the image again because we've limited it here. And whatever the parent is using, that's what is always going to use. If you want, you can change the image directly yourself, but I don't use to do that because it will make it harder to work. It means you'll be changing parents, you'll be changing the child. But once you apply that reset at the top, whatever the parent of the image is using, that's what is always going to use. So if you say the parent should be something like this, so let me see what is here. Okay, under the right, we have the A, like that. Do we have any other A? Yeah, we have other A. So let me give it a class so that it will be easier to select. So let me call it class, then logo like this, so that it will be easier because we still have 2A down here. Yeah, we have 2A down, as you can see. If I just select A, it will affect all of them. So I don't want it to affect all those ones. And I don't want to be using crazy selector. So here now, select logo. So what do you want to do? Let me give you background color first so that you see what is going on. So background, come outside, red like this. So save. As you can see, the image is taking the space of its parent. So now let's reduce it. For example, let me just say width is 3 rem, which is 48 pixels. So can you see? Image to reduce. And the reason it's reducing here is because of the reset that we have in that. It must not go more than whatever the parent. Because you know, percentage is dealing with parent. So if you look at the parent and it will take 100% of it. 100% of 48 is still 48 and so forth, like that. But this one here, if it is not there, the image are stubborn. As you can see, they are stubborn. So if they don't look at their parent, they will take their original size until you talk to them. But we don't want it to be like that. Whatever the parent is using, just follow that parent. So I don't need to be doing the changes for the two of them. But I think this one is too small. So let me change it to maybe around that 7 rem if it's not too big. Let's use 10. 10. 10. I think 16. It's okay, like no. Let's use 12. But it's supposed to be at the center. So anytime you use width and height, you can actually use margin inline. What is margin inline? You are talking about margin left and right. So, and here I want to use auto. So what is auto going to do for us? What is doing there is that, you know, this is what is going on before. When we say weight, you know that the thing is not taking the remaining space again. It's not taking the entire space. So what about the space that is left? We want to distribute it between left and right equally. So when you now say margin auto, what this thing will do is that it will look at the space on the left and the right. Then it will cut it into two, give left and give right. So since it's cutting into half, you know, the other content will now go to center. This is one way of moving item to center. You can actually do it from the from the parent too. But you know that it will not affect only this element. It will affect everything that's inside the parent. But I want it to only change this one. Or another way of doing it by using this thing is text align. So text align, which is going to be center like this. But look at it. Is it that it did not work? Because we've limited the width of the image. You know, it's not like it's covering the entire space. We've given it a definite width. So it doesn't know about the remaining space that is there. And that's why this one is there. But if you look at it now, for the other one, you see that that's what I'm going to use for that H1. You see that what I will just use here is text align center. Why is that one working? Is because the H1 is actually taking the entire space. So let me give that one to background color. You see that this one, as you can see, that is taking the entire space. So when you now align it, so it will go to the center. But look at this one. Look at where the background stopped. That one did not get here. So there is no way it will go to that center because this is where it stopped already. So there is no way it knows about what is going on here. So it can't just go to that center. And that's why this one is, once you use weight and you want something to go to center, just use margin inline auto. It will now take the space and distribute it. So that's just the trick there. So like that. If it's just that, assuming that thing is taking the entire space, you can use text align, it will work. But since it's not taking the entire space, it will not work. like that. So even if you limit the weight of this one too, it will only stop. It will only go to the center of where the weight stop. Like that. So that's how it works. So remove this one and save. Now we have the two. So this one too is not supposed to have background. So save this one and we have the stop. So the next thing we need to talk about is the form now. So we have form. So let me give you background color of red so that we see what is going on. And you know this one too, we need to display it as flex so that we can apply the appropriate spacing. You always use flex a lot like that because it allows you to apply what's going on. Why is this not apply my background? So now it has moved them side by side. That's not what we want. DFX, what's that say? FXDC, VS code. So now it will apply this by taking them on top. Can you see the button now? That's but you see that the email and the box are not because those ones they are in their own group too. So which is something that is here. So if you look at it, you see that they are in their own group, which is this form group. And what we just need to do is to talk to that one too separately. So we just need to do form group. So this one too, display flex, FXDC, which is the column. Then gap should be around that 0.5 or so, like that. So save, as you can see this one too, but the gap is too much. So let me use 2.5 like this. Again too, we need to have a gap in between each one of them in the form. So we did not apply gap here. So let me just use gap of 1.25 rem, and as you can see, it's being spaced from each other. Let me remove this one like that. The next thing we need to do is the input because their box is really high. So look at their own. If you look at their own box, can you see that it's really more like much like that? So we can use padding for that because if you click inside, you can see that the spacing is inside the box, not outside the box. So it means the padding is what we need to use there. So going back to our page, so where's our own? Here we're going to change this logo. Do we have that logo? We're going to put our own too. So what we need to do now is to go inside it. So we have this form group inside the input. So padding like this, top and bottom 1 rem, left and right 0.5. So we are going to have more on the top and bottom than the left and right because that's how it is. As you can see, not much on the left and right, but we have more on the. I don't know the value they are using. I'm just using some random value until it looks nice. But I think this one is too much. 0.875 rem, which is 14 pixels, like that. I think this one is okay. Again, too, the line is different. The line color is different, but when you are inside, see that it changes to blue color like that. And as you can see, it's the same blue color that we are using here. So it means on this side they have a brand color, which is the blue. So which means you are going to be typing that color every time. But instead of you typing that color every time, that's where the CSS variable comes in. So we can save the value in a variable. Anytime we need it, we just call the variable. So let me check the color they are using for their blue so that it looks the same thing too. You can go to any site, just inspect, you see whatever that they are using there. So that button is to tell us the color that is there. Just scroll down to where you see the color. Where are you? That means something is inside it. Wait though. Why we no, it should be the button that have the color. This is it. As you can see that they are using variable too. Because it's something that is being used in different places. So you can't just be using, can't just be typing it every time. You save it somewhere, then anywhere you need it, you call the variable. You see that they are the same thing we want to do now is what they follow here, the practice. So to see the color, just click on this. Look at what they call it. They even can you see all the color. So they have the one for the checkbox, they have the one for the border over, they have the one for the link. So this is the one they use for link. This is the one they use. Is the same thing now. These people, what's wrong with them? So I will just call it primary color because it's the same thing. I don't know why they are repeating the stuff like that. Maybe it's something that they want to change later on. But so where are we going to pull our variable? So we're going to make it a global variable so that we can use it everywhere. So here, just paste the stuff, but I'm not going to call it this button. I'm just going to say main color because that's the major color on the stuff. So now where do we need it? We need it down here on our input. So anytime form group, the input, anytime it is focused, we want the border, but or we want the outline, so outline color to be that our main color like this. So save, going back to the page, going back to our page, so click, as you can see, the color will be that, and it will happen to the two of them because they are input. I'm not just talking about the first one, but I don't like the border that is there, so I'm going to change that one because it looks somehow. So border is going to be 1 pixel solid gray like this, but this gray, no, this gray is not what I want. It should be closer to this white area. So save, yeah, this soft to white. It's close to white, but it's not white. Again, too, we need to change the radius. Border radius should be around 0.25. That's 4 pixels. You're just going to curve the edge a little bit like this. So we have the stuff. So the next thing is to style our button. So we have the button. We only have one button. That's why I'm selecting like this. So the background is going to be that our same main color again. It's kind of easier. So we don't need to start doing copy and paste. Later on now, if the site color change, we just need to come here and update it from it. So now if I update it from here to another color, wherever you are using it, it will update instantly. So you don't need to start going to where you are using it. So if I come here now, you can see I did not touch any other place. Start working. So this is the advantage of variables. This is one of the advantage of variables. So let me return it back to our blue. All right, so yeah, that line around it, we don't need it. So the border should be none. Padding, top and bottom should be, let's use the same thing as that. Let me see. Are they using the same thing as the M sheets? They have the same height. Yeah, they are the same. They have the same stuff. So if you look at the board, if you look at it, we use 0 point this in. So we're going to use the same thing. It's, and as you can see, it's the same thing now. So instead of me using it like this, I can actually save it in a variable too and just continue with it. So in case it change later on, it will update the two of them. Not that I have to do it here, I have to go up too. So you can create variable for anything you want, but I don't want to be doing too much. So rem 10.5 rem. So save like this, and as you can see, the color should be white, but it's not. It should be off white. Let me just take it somewhere here. Should be off white, not technically white. So save like this, but I think it's more than that. What is the text? Yeah, the text is really bold. So font weight is going to be bold, and again to font size. So what is there before? I think it's around that one. Let me see what is used. What the is using what the browser apply by default. So you're using the browser default size. So let me see what is using. So let me see what is using by default. So to see what is using by default, just go to the computed and scroll down where you see font size. So let's see what is using font size. Where are you? As you can see, it's using 13 point whatever stuff. So that's what the browser is applying by default. We're going to change it to 17 pixels, but I'm not going to use 17 pixels. I'm going to use rem. Still, I'm always using rem because anytime the fonts change from the browser, it will update everything. You can use pixels, but you know that pixels doesn't change no matter what the user do with their setting. But now, yeah, but look at it, it's not showing that it is something that is clickable. So our button should show to the user that it is clickable, so we can use cursor, pointer of cursor like that, like this. Then now if you go there, as you can see, again too, it should have border radius like the top one. So border radius should be 0.25 rem. Again too, anytime the button is over, we want to reduce the opacity. So opacity should just be let's say 0.7 like this, so that it shows that it just gives visual representation of, like, can you see? So it just to show, let me see their own, what they are doing there. They did not do anything. So, but if you go to some site, majorly you always see that they're adding visual representation, but it all depends on your site. It's not a must. As you can you see the way this one is doing? It's putting shadow at the back of it. So you can do different stuff based on what you want. So this one now is using shadow on their this thing. So let me go to another one. This one, I'm the one that put that one there. So let me see this one. Does it have button? As you can see that, so they only is always there to kind of like give this visual representation that you're actually on top of this thing. So it's not a must, but it's always good that you add it. And as you can see, it's the same thing across. So because they do the styling for all the buttons at once. And as you can see here too, that's the pattern that I'm following. You know, when I wanted to work on these two, I did not just say this one only. I gave them the same grouping class. So once I start the class, as it's applying it here, it will work on this one too instantly. And that's how you do once you see that things are the same. And I think the color here too is not the same. So the color we are not using, the gray is not the same. So let me check this label. Let me see the color they are using for the label. It's not a must, so we look at that. What's wrong with this? So what was the color on the label? Yeah, as you can see, they use 119119. So that's what is on the label. So we too, we can just go up here by, see the way I'm arranging the stuff, the way the HTML is being arranged. That's the way you can see that I want to move the label on top of input, because that is the way I arrange it. Not that I'm just adding it down here. So I'm arranging it based on the way we arrange the HTML. So the label is always before the input. Like even the group too is before them. So that's why you see that the styling arranged the way it is. So the form group like this. So the label, the color should be RGB like this, 119 like that. And I think that's what they are using for this side too. So this border that I did here, 119, 119, 119, like that. So save, go back to the page, and we should have the same. So that's just it. So the same thing here too. We need to check that color and make sure that the text, no. So where is it? As you can see that the text is centered. So it's centered. So we need to align it. But let me check the color first. They are using, it should be that 1192 because no, it's not. This one is 156. So this one is the last one under this place. So we have the P. No, it's inside this left. Do we have any other P on the page? No. Let me just say P directly. So the color should be RGB 156 156 like that. So what else that is there? So text align should be center, but you know that we have a inside it. So the a that is inside it, font weight should be bold because the text there is really bold. And I think I will apply our own color there. So the color should be that main color, but it makes sense to use the main stuff for link. So going back to our page, and as you can see now, but I don't like that underline stuff, so we don't want to see any underline. So text decoration, you see that I'm repeating myself here now. So what I can do here is to do reset at the top, because I know that I did something like that somewhere here. For where is it? I did something. So instead of, since it's the generic stuff, I can just come here and say text decoration. Text decoration here should just be none. So where did I do it? So I did it somewhere. So let me go to where I did it. That logo, I think it's the logo. No, where did I do the stuff? Should be on the left side. Yeah, this is it. So I don't need to do it here again because I've already applied it at once at the top. So any A we have on the page, we not have underline. Not that I have to start, since it's the same thing across, it will never change. So you make it as a generic style. But if something that can change somewhere else, you can see that the color here now is not the same thing as color here. So I can't just apply it as global setting or reset. So if the color, if something that can change, you do it where it needs to be. But if something that it will always be the same thing across, no matter where you're using it, so you can do that reset at the top. So text decoration here is still the same thing down here. So I don't need to start repeating myself. As you can see now, we have the stuff on the page. So here now, you can send this into another to someone, and they are going to think is that free pick like that. But before we go, I want to make this thing available online. Like we want to deploy what we just did now, even though it's not making sense because it's not doing anything, just to showcase the work, and it's not even responsive like that. So whether you're on desktop or mobile, it's always going to place them side by side, which is wrong because on small screen, can you see there is no space at all. They are supposed to be on top of each other. So we're going to be talking about responsiveness in the next class there, like that. But we want to make this thing available online, and which is what we call the deployment. So how do you deploy your site? Because if you look at it now, this site, you just type the address. You can type it anywhere. You can type it anywhere. As long as you have internet, it will display the stuff. But this thing that I just did now is only available on my computer. You can't check it on your own computer there. So how do we make this thing available everywhere? So we need to deploy it. And we have different services that you can use for deployment. But for our own basic stuff, we can use this Cloudflare. So we have this site where you can use to deploy your site freely, and it's going to generate the domain for you. So the domain is like the www.bing that you're seeing at the top here. That's the domain, which is the address that you type that now locates the data. So this address is mapped to a particular computer somewhere, which is going to go to where you put all your site file there. So this Cloudflare can help you out to deploy your site. It will give you free domain that you can use, and it will help you to host the site, because they are, what you want to do is that everything that you develop here, you want to put it on someone's computer, so that when someone requests it from one browser, it will go there and pick the file. So Cloudflare, you can use it to deploy your static web page. So what you just need to do is to go to their site. If you don't have an account before, you sign up, and they will take this thing. Has started again. I don't know why their stuff doesn't work with my Airtel. You always fight with Airtel. Yeah, always fight with Airtel. Let me see. The Glow is not good here. I don't know why. The Glow network is not good here. The Glow network, it's not good here. Let me try it again. So click on web. Still the same thing. All right, let me try it. Another browser. Copy link. Let me try this browser, and I want to show you this thing, so that when you started working on your own this thing, you can just use it to showcase your work, because some people later, even when you want to apply for anything, they want to see what you worked on. So, and there's no way they will come to your computer to come and be seeing what you worked on. So you showcase the stuff through you send a link, and they will go there and check whatever they need to check. So you can use Cloudflare to deploy your sites freely without you paying any money. This is what I'm expecting. So, and Edge is showing something else. So it will load and you sign in or you sign up. For me, I'm going to log in. I don't know why I used to do somehow with Flow, with my Airtel line. Used to slow down on Airtel, and here now Glow doesn't. Let me try to switch to Glow. But Glow here is something else. All right, I think I'll have to. Yeah, so this is the cloud player. As you can see, they can help you to do a lot of things that deal with deployments, can help you to host your site and stuff like that. So how do you do it here? We just need to come under this here. Where is it? So where is we need workers. So that's where you can see they can help you with the domain, registration, IP, image, you can use for their database. But what I want here is this workers and pages. So what we need is these pages. That's where you can deploy your site, which will help you to deploy different pages for a particular site. You just need to upload your code, like your HTML file, the CSS, and the assets that you have for that site. You give it name. As you can see, these are some samples that we have there, and they are still there. So they are working. If I visit the site, it's still going to show like that, and it's free. As you can see here, that has been deployed. You can go to that address on any devices that support browser and the internet, so it will always show. So here too, we can just click on this create, and we don't need worker. This is advanced stuff. What we actually need here is these pages. So on the pages, we're going to be talking about this one later on, but what we need is upload assets. So as you can see, upload your site, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and all the files that will make your site to work. So just click on it. It take us to, so what's the name? Whatever name you use here, that's what is going to use to generate the this thing at the top. So we're going to call it demo free pick sign up like this. So we're going to call it this demo free pick, and as you can see, the same name, it's using it to generate the address or the URL that we're going to be going to see the site. So create like this. So the next thing is for us to upload. Once it's done, depending on the network, create. So the next thing, yeah, now we just need to upload all the our files. So I will just go to that place. This is our files that we need to upload. These are just the project. So select everything, the index, the style, and the images. So just drag everything to that place. Oh, this is not what I asked you to do. This is not what I asked you to do. Drag to that place, not to another side. So drag everything into this. When it's a copy, yeah, single files. Let me go and select the folder. Let me upload folder, or let me drag the folder there. I don't want to be going back to select everything. So going back, then drag the folder. Drag the folder, yeah. So to pick all of them. So we have the images, the index. Depending on the, this is not supposed to take time, but because this is the first time, so it's checking, preparing. It's just, you can see the site is just 191 kilobytes. So anybody that want to visit this site now, they must have up to 191 kilobytes. That's why when you go to some site, you just the data that I just subscribed now. Why this thing does? Because they have a lot of resources that you are loading on that site. Because you need to download all of them. The browser needs to download, and it's using the bandwidth there like that. So it's not supposed to take time, but once the thing is done, it will give us success, and from there we click on this deploy. So this thing is going to change to deploy, and once you change to deploy, we'll be able to visit it anywhere on wherever you want to visit the stuff. So let me pause while the stuff is still preparing. What